On Meet the Press with Chuck Todd, Vivek Ramaswamy got into an interesting back and forth with him and got called out for both his hypocrisy and then also had a chance to explain his bizarre position on what Mike Pence should have done on January 6th. Very wrong and dangerous position, but also just strangely communicated. And instead of giving you much more of an introduction, we'll take a look at part one of this, then we'll look at a little second clip. But first this.
Candidates on stage Wednesday night said Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. Do you agree?
I would have done it very differently. I think that there was a historic opportunity that he missed to reunite this country in that window. What I would have said is this is a moment for a true national consensus where there's two elements of what's required for a functioning democracy in America. One is secure elections, and the second is a peaceful transfer of power. When those things come into conflict, that's an opportunity for heroism. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have achieved victory, and we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would
I
what
would
would
have
you have
driven
done
it through the Senate.
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it.
Do you understand what he's saying there? And we'll watch more in just a moment, but he's saying, and he says it in a tone of voice as if he knows what he's talking about and is confident. That is so nonsense. He's saying, sure, I'll do my constitutional obligation if I get the laws implemented that I want. What? You will oversee the certification of the lawful electoral count only if Congress agrees to pass certain laws that you want. These laws happen to be in relation to our elections, but you were saying the principle is one that you accept, that vice presidents have the authority to leverage their power of doing their constitutional obligation of overseeing this process, this lawful process of certifying the elections, leveraging that as power in policy implementation. To say, I will only do my obligation if you pass what I want you to. So in principle, Kamala Harris could say, sure, I'll certify the next election or I'll oversee the certification. It's just a ceremonial role anyways, but I'll do that if you pass gun control laws. It's the same thing, just one happens to be in relation to elections and one doesn't. It's absurd. And no, your constitutional obligation here is not incumbent upon anything else, is not something you can leverage. You just do it because that's what you're supposed to do constitutionally based on our lawful process when it comes to our elections. And that is why Trump now is being criminally charged for actions in relation to that plot, the fake electors scheme, and all these other related efforts. But Vivek Ramaswamy is always good for a new, fresh idea, I guess, about how these things should have gone. Then Chuck Todd confronts him about his hypocrisy.
In your book, which wasn't written that long ago, you wrote, the fact that all of our governmental institutions so unanimously found no evidence of significant fraud is telling. Furthermore, I've talked to many Republicans at all levels of government, and not one has ever presented convincing evidence that the 2020 election was stolen from President Trump. Very few have seriously tried. I don't believe that most Republican politicians actually think the election was stolen. So you went from there,
let me address
and
this.
11 months later, your views have changed on January 6th. Again, this book was written September of 2022.
Chuck, I'm happy to address that if you're interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and read exactly that chapter in the book. I drew a sharp distinction between what I did see as the interference in the election that mattered, which was interference by big tech. I'm data-driven. There's hard data showing that many voters, many independent voters, would have changed their result enough to influence the outcome of the election if they had been exposed to what we now know to be the truth about the Hunter Biden laptop story.
If they could have seen those nude photos from the Hunter Biden laptop.
By contrast, I've also been clear. I have not yet seen evidence that there was ballot fraud of a scale that would have changed.
So then, oh, it's so absurd. Okay, so he's saying that the justification for Mike Pence using his ceremonial role to leverage policy getting passed, was because of the lack of security with our elections. And he cited examples that he felt would secure same-day voting, whatever else he said, that would help to address that. But he's admitting here, we don't actually have problems with widespread voter fraud that could have impacted the election. So why would you use this moment unconstitutionally to leverage for new policies to make our elections more secure if they're already plenty secure, because fraud didn't make any difference, because there wasn't any significant amount of it. So he's all bent in a pretzel, logically. And again, you're starting to see he does get a little bit more flustered, but I think a lot of people tout him as this stunning communicator and thus accept his ideas as more reasonable than they are when they are ridiculous, no matter how he communicates them. And he always tries to take the stance that's, like I said, new and fresh. Oh no, I wouldn't have done what Trump wanted, which was just reject the results of the election because he wanted to stay president. I would have said, I reject them until you pass certain laws to secure our elections, based on the need for that is not substantiated, based on what I wrote in a book. So pretty dang ridiculous. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.